What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, I'm going to give my review of American Gods Season 1, Episode 3, titled Head Full of Snow. Alright. Well, to start off, I didn't really care for this episode that much. I don't want to call it bad. It was slightly on the boring side, I feel. And I don't know. It didn't. It was a big departure from the first two episodes. So it wasn't just slightly less good than the first two. I feel like it was drastically different. Like if this episode was one of the first two episodes, I don't know if it would have gripped me to want to stay for the next one. You know what I mean? But I don't want to call it bad or terrible because it wasn't bad or terrible. But in comparison to what we got the first two episodes, it really wasn't that good. Man, my eyes look terrible. I need to start sleeping better. Sorry, that was a bit off. All right, synopsis. Shadow questions his decision to work for Mr. Wednesday after learning of his plan to rob a bank. And then we have Shadow makes a surprising discovery when he returns to his motel room. Now, both of these parts of the synopsis are like so far from the episode. Each part of the synopsis is like this much of the episode. And it doesn't tell us about anything that really is going on with this one. Now that's not what makes me dislike this particular episode. I don't think it even added to it. I'm just pointing out that the synopsis is really misleading for what takes place in the episode. Now, as far as them robbing the bank, it was a very short bit of, like I said, of the plot. Most of the plot revolving around the bank robbery was Mr. Wednesday putting the imagery of snow into Shadow's head and telling him to make it his head full of snow. So obviously that's something to do with Shadow's powers. Maybe he can conjure up anything he thinks. Maybe it's only weather. I don't really know. But I don't see how the amount of snow that Shadow conjures up affected the robbery of the bank at all. I guess, they're using the weather for saying that this is out of order, whatever it is. Okay, I get it. But, I don't know, it didn't seem like enough snow to really make a difference with anything, in my opinion. Alright, and then their actual plan, which was nice, it was refreshing, it was a different approach for bank robbery. It was more of a con man's approach to robbing a bank. I like that. The way it was handled in the episode wasn't really believable to me. I know this is a show about gods and everything, but there is still a real world, a real reality aspect to it. And I felt like that was lacking in the bank robbery stuff. So I didn't really care for that at all. And then we have the part about the motel room. That was literally the last 2 seconds of the episode, which was your cliffhanger for the next episode. That shouldn't be in the synopsis. I don't get it. They could have put something about the gin in here, or Chernobog, the sister that he talks with on the roof. They could have put any number of things in there besides that. I don't get that. But whatever. Like I said, this isn't about the synopsis. So that's not really what we get from the episode. What's here? What we get from the episode is Shadow learning a little bit more about the mystical side of things and talking to the one sister, the youngest sister, the one that she says her place is on the roof. I guess out in it amongst the environment in the stars or something. I don't know. And she tells him some story about keeping some mythical beast at bay that's like trapped within the stars, the Milky Way or something, which I like. That's very, very interesting. Very cool concept to me. I like all of the telescopes up there so that they could keep watch, and how it seems to be that there's always one of the sisters, or maybe it's always her, I don't know, that's manning the roof watching this beast. I like all that. I hope we get to see that beast or find out more about it. I kind of think we're not going to. I think that was just there to kind of world build a little bit, but I could be wrong. And then we get Shadow and Chernobog, which I also didn't like, how he plays another game with him, makes another bet. It felt very repetitive, and it kind of felt like just a way to get Chernobog to go with them. I don't know. If they were gonna go that route, they should have just made him win the first game. I really didn't care for that at all. And then you have the gin scenes, which it's not that I minded them. Yeah, it's not exactly my cup of tea, but it didn't make sense. The gin scenes, nothing about them made sense to me. Nothing was explained. I know just as much now as I did when the scene first started, which is nothing. I don't know how those characters fit in. I know we saw the gin walk out of the diner after meeting with Mr. Wednesday, so we can assume that he's gonna be at the big meeting with all the old gods, right? Okay, I'm sure he's gonna play a bigger part in the show, but I don't get it. What did he do? Switch bodies? Did he put himself into that guy's body by having sex with him? I don't get what happened, and all we needed was one line or one bit of piece of dialogue to throw away. And then while they were having sex, they were like transported to that desert world, which was within the opening scene, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I don't really know where they're going with it. I don't know what they meant, what its purpose was, nothing. And I felt like, I know this is a show about mystery, and I'm sure it'll be unraveled to us and everything, but the scene felt out of place. It didn't work for me. And it just didn't fit in the storyline. Like, the Bilquis stuff doesn't fit in there either, but I feel like that explains enough. You kind of get a sense for what's going on in the Bilquis. In the gym scene, I don't know. The only thing I got out of it is maybe he transferred himself, but I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't get it. So I didn't like that scene at all. I thought it was intriguing at first. I'm like, ooh, what are we going to get to see? Little clips of like the immigrant story, because that's what I thought the opening scene was about, which I'll talk about in a minute. Was like another immigrant story, like the other opening scenes that we've gotten. But it really didn't turn out to be that. It turned out to be like the Bilquis scene of this episode, and I don't know. From watching the two Bilquis scenes, I learned something about her character in both times. I know how she's obtaining worshipers. I know what her role in reality world is. That's a prostitute. I know that nobody's worshiping her, so the only way she can do it is through sex and her body and her looks. I know that she doesn't feel good about it from the tears and everything when she lays by herself after she devours someone. I know that she longs for the old days when people worshipped her statue and put her jewels in a museum. And she longs for those days where she could wear those jewels again. I learned that from both of those episodes, 1 and 2. I learned nothing about the Jin character or the other guy that was in that scene. Nothing. Other than that they were gay. Which, to me, I don't know. If you're going to have stuff like that in the show, add context to it. There was no context to it. It felt out of place. And it wasn't the gay stuff that bothered me. It wasn't the homosexual stuff at all. It was that I didn't get any explanation to who these characters were or their relevance in this world. I know that the one guy was not a human, the Jin. I don't know anything about the salesman. I don't know. It was confusing. Enough about that. And that was really all we got. That and then the bank robbery stuff. Oh, and then the stuff with Mad Sweeney looking for the coin. Like, this episode just felt like, I don't know. They didn't really stick to any storyline. And it felt like if they would have stuck to Chernobog or the sisters or the Jinn, or if they would have stuck to any one of these things for that one episode a little bit longer, I think the episode would have been better served for it. The opening scene, I didn't like this one as much as I liked the previous two, but I liked it. Obviously, this guy was death. I believe he's Anubis. I think that's what the lady calls him. Which is an Egyptian god. I don't know if he's the Egyptian god of death, but that's what I got from the scene. From his dress, from his mannerism, to his speech, to the way she reacts to him, to the whole context of the scene. He's death, right? He's taking this lady to the afterlife. I didn't like this one as much as the other ones, but I liked it. You know, it was still good. It was interesting. It left a lot of questions that the other ones didn't leave, and I think that was my problem with it. The other ones kind of explain what's going on, and this one, all we get is this lady's being carried to the afterlife. But she mentioned something about it being some sort of trickery or following the wrong gods, but we don't really learn anything about that. I felt we didn't really get anything from that opening scene, whereas the other two with Mr. Nancy and the Odin one, we got something from that. We learned about those two gods. Here, all we learned is that he takes you from life to death. But like I said, there was hinted that there wasn't something right with it. And I don't know. This whole episode to me was like, nah. Okay, as far as the theme of it goes, it's about whether or not you're believing the right thing. Because Shadow's whole thing in the whole episode, as it has been for the last two episodes, is whether or not he's crazy, or should he believe these people? Are they liars? Are they con men? But we get that even more so with this episode because, alright, so not only is Shadow dealing with it with Mr. Wednesday like he was in the other ones, he's dealing with it with the sister, because he doesn't really believe her, but he doesn't know if he should believe her, right? And then Mad Sweeney's harping about this lucky coin. Obviously, he's having bad luck since he lost the coin. Look at everything that's happened to him since he lost the coin. And I think that may continue. And that intrigued me. I'm interested to see that. That's what I'm saying. If this episode was more Mad Sweeney, I think I would have liked it. If it was more Chernobog, I think I would have liked it. You know what I mean? I'm starting to think that Shadow Moon as a character isn't enough to carry the whole show by himself. That he really needs these interesting and Tarantino-esque god characters to really propel it forward. Even though I like Ricky Whittle as Shadow Moon and I like his portrayal, I like the character. But this was the first episode I thought that was mostly centered on him without a lot of these crazy interactions, I felt. I don't know. I don't really know what it was about this one that I didn't like that much, but I just didn't like it that much. So yeah, as far as the title meaning, Head Full of Snow, it's obvious. Everything, not everything, but many of the things Wednesday is doing to Shadow or with Shadow or for Shadow in this episode are about instilling the vision, I talked about this a little earlier, of snow in Shadow's head so that he could conjure up snow for an underwhelming reason. It was interesting to see Shadow has power. Now we know he's more than the average human. That was nice. Okay, so, but that's pretty much the extent to the meaning. Other that and the literal sense of him actually having a head full of snow, to like the more figurative sense where Shadow's head is full of snow, like snow on a TV, where it's all scrambled and not right because it feels like his head is being ripped apart by all these new concepts, these new ideas, that he either sees the world as reality or fantasy. He can't see them both together. And Mr. Wednesday's trying to make him see that they're one and the same. Fantasy and reality are the same. A lot of the things that we believe to be fantastical are in actuality a reality? Yeah, I guess. All right, so yeah, that's it. It's a meh episode for me. The best performance in this whole episode, like the standout, I would give, I'm gonna give it to, believe it or not, even though I kind of just soured on Ricky Whittle a little bit, I'm gonna give it to him because he made me believe that I want to give it to Mad Sweeney. No, I'm giving it to Ricky Whittle. I'm giving it to Shadow Moon. Even though I thought he was the most underwhelming thing of the episode, that wasn't because of his performance. It was because of the way the episode was pieced together and written, I feel. His performance was probably the best of the three. Not only did we get to see kind of a little con man criminal side of him, because the way he handles that phone call was perfect and brilliant and smart, and the way I guess a seasoned con man would handle it. But we also get that sense of confusion from him. Like I said, I didn't like the way the whole Chernobog second game thing was handled in everything, even in Ricky Whittle's performance of it. But everything else in the episode had me on Ricky Whittle's side. Like, yeah, I'm with you. It's either real or it ain't. You know, even though I know that there's fantastical elements to this, I was on Ricky Whittle's side with that's the way the world works. That's the way most people look at the world. But you got to understand Wednesday was that most people are blind, and that's his point. So yeah, even after this episode, our heads are kind of full of snow in a way still. So yeah, I like the title meaning. That's good. The episode standout, I already got past title, sorry. Episode standout, I said, was Ricky Whittle. I thought his performance was good. He made me believe that his head was full of snow. There you go. Production standout, I'm gonna give it for cinematography. I think it was shot really, really well. Every episode so far was shot really well. But I'm usually when I give it to cinematography or camera work, I have to throw the director in there. But I'm not, because I don't know, something was off about this episode that I really didn't like. And it wasn't just the gin stuff, so I don't want you guys to say that. It was something about the bank robbery, something about the Chernobog scene. I just didn't like them. Most of the scenes in this. I like the rooftop stuff. I like the opening scene, not as much as the previous two, but I liked it. But I don't know. Something was off. Maybe it was the directing. My favorite moment of the whole entire episode, I'm gonna say, was the rooftop scene. I really enjoyed it. I like the sisters, especially the young one. She's very, very mystical to me. I like the interaction between Mr. Wednesday and Cloris Leachman's character as well. I think her name is Zoria. But, there wasn't really enough of it. So, my least favorite moment of the entire episode was the rehashing of the checkers game, playing the game again. I didn't like it at all. I thought it just felt like a lazy writer's way to make Chernobog, go with Shadow and Wednesday. And he still didn't even go with them yet. But I guess they're still in that neighborhood doing the bank robbery. And they're probably going to go back to get Chernobog now. Next episode, I guess. I don't know. And I also, another thing that I thought was the least I'll put in there is I didn't really care for the lack of the new gods. They're some of the most interesting things about this show. Media and technical boy. They're two of my my most favorite things about the show. There's two of the most intriguing things about the show, and I thought we were going to get another new god in this one, and we didn't. So, yeah, that stinks. As far as an overall rating for this episode, still a good show, but honestly, this is going to be really low rated for me in this show. I'm going to give it a 3.5. If you didn't love the first two episodes like I did, you might even give this a 3. But because I love the first two episodes and I love the characters they're dealing with in the storyline, it earns a little extra. But as a standalone episode, it loses a lot for me. And 3.5, it's just about a little better than an average episode of TV, in my opinion. I thought it was going to be so much more to it. I thought it was going to be a lot better, and I was really excited and really intrigued by what they were going to do. And look, I'm not lost on the show. It's only one episode, and it's not terrible. I'm still going to love the show, hopefully, going forward. I still love the first two episodes, so we'll see how episode 4 goes. There'll be predictions to come later on in the week. Yeah, and that's really it for this one. There's not really much more I can say. Chime in down below. Let me know what you thought about the episode, what you think about this review. Give me your review. Sound of the comments, period. Let me know the good, the bad, and the ugly. What I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. What I could change, what I should keep the same. Help me get better and help me grow. I need that from you guys who watch these videos, who I'll consider fans, even if you don't stick around to the end to see this message. But I rely on you guys to help me grow and help me get better so I can give you better content, and maybe I can start doing this more often. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Always appreciate it. Sorry I took so much of your time. I really, really am trying to get the time down, but it seems to be right around 20 minutes is where I keep seeming to fall. Hopefully I'll get better at that. Thank you again for watching. You guys have a great day, and I will see you next time.